Hi, welcome everyone. So I'm so pleased to have this talk tonight from a real estate team that we have actually been admiring for years, because they sort of support all the same not-for-profits that Parksville Parents supports, like the Old Stone House, Greenwood Cemetery, and some other local community not-for-profits. And so we've been there when they've sponsored events, and we've really enjoyed getting to know them. And we're very excited to have them tonight. I would just like to let you know that we are recording this. And so if you have to take a break, go feed a baby or have a bite, you will get the video link after. We're also going to send you a PDF of the presentation, and we'll also be sending you any resources that Tyson and Alexandra talk about tonight. So don't worry about taking a million notes or screenshotting. Tonight is for you to listen to these two very smart experts when they are going to kind of demystify the real estate process for us. And talking about these experts, I want to just tell you that they are the Saghir Lewis team. They've emerged as a dynamic force in the Brooklyn real estate arena, redefining the art of selling property. Principal partners Alexandra Saghir and Tyson Lewis balance a business-minded approach to the sales process along with an empathetic engagement with their clients. And I think they are both business-minded and empathetic. So I'm very excited to welcome them. I want to just remind you that if you have questions during this webinar, please put them into the Q&A, which is at the bottom of your screen. Just click on the Q&A and add a question. Please don't put your questions into the chat. And at the end of their presentation, they will take all of your questions, okay? So I am going to say goodbye and say hello to Alexandra and Tyson.
Hi.
Hi, we're so excited to be here. Thank you, Carla, so much. It is actually been a long relationship with Parksville Parents, 14 years, almost 15, because that's how old my son's going to be. You don't have to be a parent to be a member of Parksville Parents. Thank you for having us in your living room, on your phone, on your laptop, on your computer, wherever you are. It's really great to be able to do some truth telling tonight.
That's right.
I don't know if you read our blog, but there's been lots of chatter on the interwebs, as the kids say, about things that are happening in the market or not happening in the market. And we're here to set the record straight. We're here to make you comfortable. We're here to guide you. We're not necessarily here to earn your business. We're community members. We are your neighbors. We're your kids, friends, parents. We are your patrons. And we're just here to give information because we genuinely like to do that. So.
And at the end, we'll be happy to answer questions. I don't know what's happening.
Now, of course, it's frozen.
There you go.
I feel, oh, I can't make fun of my mom. She's watching. Hi, Mama. So the Saghir Lewis team, we're going to meet you at the corner of life and change. This is a life change. This is a milestone.
Your real estate sales purchase is obviously a transaction. But for us, it really is more than that. I mean, it is happening at a time when people are going through serious changes.
It's a weird
birth,
time.
death, divorce, new jobs,
Fire
new
service,
schools, new
elections.
kids. And, you know, it's for us a noble profession because we get to be part of that moment in time for people. And so yes, of course, it's how we make our money, it's how we make our living, but it is more than just a transaction for us.
But if you ask yourself if you're going to be ready, are you ready? No, you're never going to be ready. Are you ready to have a kid? No. Are you ready to adopt a dog? No. Are you ready to take the GREs or LSATs? No. You just have to do it. You just have to do it. So are you ready? Maybe not, but we're here to jump off that cliff with you.
Everybody wants to know what the market is doing. Obviously, we have experienced an unprecedented event in
the market.
The COVID pandemic has had significant effects on our market. We're going to focus really on just Brooklyn, on brownstone Brooklyn, and not the rest of New York City. This is not a housing crisis.
Say that again.
This is not a housing crisis.
This is
hear
a
that all
public
the
health
time.
Crisis.
It's a global health crisis.
Might be an emotional crisis.
It's a global health crisis that's affecting all businesses, real estate included. But in the end, the reasons that people move have not changed. The reasons that people buy and sell real estate have not changed. And in fact, even now there are some new reasons why people buy and sell real estate. Right now, we are here in Brownstone, Brooklyn. We are seeing a lot of new buyers. We are seeing a very healthy marketplace. People are staying in Brooklyn. People are coming to Brooklyn. There's a big migration from Manhattan right now. And
New York is not dead. Brooklyn is not dead. People want to live here. People need to stay here. They're not going to bend in New York. Also, people who can afford to buy things before, maybe you're one of them, can buy things now. Interest rates are historically low. It might be cheaper to actually purchase something if you have the down payment. We're going to talk about the buying processes a little bit later on in this presentation.
I can't even, I'm sorry, in our lifetime, interest rates have not been this low.
It's a long lifetime.
Well, a little bit longer than yours, but you know, it is almost ridiculous. I mean, we over the years, we keep saying interest rates can't get any lower. Well, they are hovering around 3% for a 30-year fixed. They're 2.75% for a 10-year adjustable rate. This is amazing. And in many cases, it can be, you can, if you cover the down payment, you could buy a property and pay the same amount on your monthly mortgage that it would take to rent the same property. And that's astounding.
Can I talk now? Low interest rate means that your monthly nut is lower, basically. And some of you are super advanced and super knowledgeable about real estate and the process. I was not when I started this 4 years ago. This is why I came into this business. Closing costs, what are those? Interest rates, I don't know. Appraisal, inspection. We will get to all of that. That's a whole separate seminar. But an interest rate to you, a low interest rate to you means a lower monthly payment. Is that fair?
Yes.
Thank you. He approves of something that I say for once. Buyers and sellers are testing the market. What does that mean?
When we talk about testing, we're really talking about pricing. When people price real estate, they look at recent data. The data from the last 6 months is a mess. I think we can all agree that a lot of things have been a mess for the last 6 months. And so sellers are trying to sort out, agents are trying to sort out how properties should be priced. Buyers are trying to sort out whether the pricing is accurate. Buyers are testing with lower offers. Sellers are testing with ambitious asking prices.
It's like dogs sniffing each other's butts. They're testing each other. Am I going to sell this for $2 million? Am I going to buy it for $1 million? So it's a lot of butt sniffing.
Okay.
For the dog owners. You get what I mean, though. You're feeling each other out. And there's no right price until something's actually bought.
Right. So, you know, we're seeing a lot of price adjustments. You know, buyers are who are working with agents are really looking very hard at pricing and coming in with low offers. But, you know, we are seeing a pretty healthy marketplace overall. You know, prices are slightly lower than they were this time last year. I think about 5% in Brownstone, Brooklyn. But sales volume has actually increased since this time last year.
And something to note about pricing, one of the terms that comes up a lot are comps, comparables. What are comps? We didn't talk about this in our rehearsal, but you always bring it up with buyers and sellers. There are no reliable comps because the last 6 months, as Tyson said, have been a mess. So anything that's closed within the last couple of weeks could have been a deal that was in play months ago. Although very recently, there have been a tremendous amount of closings.
Right. The market is sorting itself out before our very eyes.
So if you look at comps, you want to look at very recent comps.
Yes. So with that,
what can you expect? If you're a seller, we'll talk about what you can expect. And I know most of you are buyers. It's really important to put yourself in the seller's shoes, sort of like acting. You have to know where the other person's coming from. And but a lot of our audience is, yeah, because Park Slope in Brownstone, Brooklyn, I would think. Some of you are NYU Tisch people out there. Buyers are taking their time. So if you're a seller, this is a process. It takes a while. It's not going to happen overnight.
The days of buyers making offers and making deals in the first week on the market, those are long gone.
If I had $1 for every time he said that, I would not be
Well,
here right now.
But it's important because,
He's right.
you know, sellers get on the market and 2 weeks out, they don't have an offer and they start panicking. Buyers are taking their time. Everyone's cautious right now, and understandably so.
And they want to see everything.
Yeah, sellers will get low offers. They should expect that. It's okay. They shouldn't take it personally.
It doesn't mean your house sucks. It doesn't mean people don't like your curtains. It doesn't mean you have too many CDs. You probably do, but it means that people are just taking their time, and again, they're testing you, and they're going to see what you can take. They're going to see how desperate you are. And buyers, you can go in with a low offer. It's going to be either countered or they're going to say no.
I guess what I would say is to a buyer or seller right now is listen to your agent. Have a good agent and listen to them. The market is constantly changing. We as agents are on the ground. We're seeing buyers and sellers. We're seeing prices change every day. We're seeing, you know, what's moving, what's not, what buyers are responding to, and listen to your agent.
The seller's agent is going to be working with the buyer's agent, and they're not going to only be discussing pricing. The seller's agent, sure, certainly advises the seller on pricing, but the seller's agent also markets the property, and the seller's agent also knows a lot of the other buyer's agents. Again, we'll get to having a buyer's agent when we talk about buyer's expectations.
We should move on to buyer's expectations, actually. But before we do, just one more thing about sellers' expectations. One thing we're seeing right now is buyers don't want to do a lot of work. Buyers don't want to do renovations. It takes a long time. The DOB is backed up. There are all kinds of reasons why buyers really want a move-in ready property. So if you are a seller, you know, take those extra steps to get your property ready. And
the other thing you always say.
There's a way that you live in your house, and there's a way that you sell your house. You hate it when I say that.
No, but it's true, but we just need to think of another way to say it.
No, all right.
All you copywriters out there can send us some suggestions. So listen to your agents. It doesn't have to be us. Obviously, we would love it if it were, but don't listen to your best friend's real estate lawyer out in Kansas City, or listen to your mom. You don't necessarily need to read the Wall Street Journal articles she mails you and circles and highlights for you, but it's important. But listen to your agent. We have the latest data, and we're going to help you make it easy. We're going to help you sell your house by making it look pretty. Shameless plug for Compass Concierge. Buyers.
Okay, so I think most of the people watching this are buyers. Things have changed a little bit from even a year ago, if you're a buyer. Gone are the days of open houses.
Please don't show up to an open house without an appointment. Don't get COVID or give COVID to anybody. You need an appointment.
Showings are by appointment only. You're going to see open house by appointment advertised. It really is still just an appointment.
You need to fill out a COVID liability form, and you need to fill out a health questionnaire. Make an appointment, please.
Now, most sellers and most listing agents are requiring that a buyer have a pre-approval letter before scheduling an appointment.
Certificate to entry.
Yeah, it's not to be difficult. It's because everyone is being extra cautious about having traffic through buildings, through building lobbies, through people's homes, brushing up against neighbors in the hallway. We want to limit traffic to only people who are qualified. And in many cases, it depends on the agent, it depends on the seller, but in many cases, you're not getting in the door without a pre-approval.
But wait, what's a pre-approval letter and how do you get one?
Well, a pre-approval letter is an endorsement from a mortgage lender that the buyer can afford.
Lender, not a broker, a mortgage lender.
The mortgage lender that in their estimation, this buyer can afford to borrow, can afford to pay up to X amount. That's a very simplistic explanation, but it's basically an endorsement from a bank. And you can get a pre-approval by talking to a mortgage banker. Now, don't just walk into your bank where you have your account and talk to the first person you see and ask for a pre-approval. You really want to work with a reputable local mortgage banker or broker.
Local. Quicken Loans is not local. Rocket Mortgage is not local. They may have really cool commercials. A button on Zillow might be super convenient and fun, but it's not local and it's not going to help you. This is a competitive market.
You really do want to have somebody who understands the nuances of the local marketplace, who can address any problems that come up, know the buildings, who knows the other players in the endeavor that you're embarking on.
We have a long list of recommendations that are going to be part of your team. Carla will be sure to include those in our follow-up email as well. I'm sure people are curious.
You have bidding.
Well, yeah, competitive.
Bidding, we mentioned that people are coming in with low offers. Sure. We mentioned that some properties are overpriced right now. Sure. But more often than not, competitive bidding is still happening. We are seeing bidding wars on well-priced, desirable properties. Properties with outdoor space, properties with room to grow, where you can have a home office, because the way people are working is changing right now. Anywhere in a desirable location near a park. Competitive bidding is happening. We're seeing this every single day on the buy side and on the sell side. And you really have to go into your search with a competitive mindset. It's really important. And we try to pound this point home with buyers every day. And those people who are of the competitive mindset are succeeding.
And we talk about what a bid includes, though. It's not just about the price. Again, we talk about this in the article. When you're making a bid, it's not just about the amount of money. It's a down payment. Typically, it's 20%. Maybe you put down more of a down payment. It makes you less risky to the seller. Maybe it's timeline. Maybe you can close really quickly, meaning you can wrap it up really quickly. Maybe you have a property to sell and it's sales contingent. Maybe you write a really beautiful personal letter to the seller and tug at their heartstrings.
I think the point you're trying to make is that there are a lot of components to an offer, and these components get presented in a professional manner. It's not something that you can just
text to somebody.
Yeah, or write on the back of a napkin.
So we've done that.
Well,
Preparation is the key to success. Assemble your team and let your broker help you position yourself to win. What are you preparing exactly? You're assembling your team. You're sharpening your axe.
we are big believers in teamwork. We're big believers in teams, I should say. You're assembling a team as a buyer or a seller, but we're assembling a team to help you succeed in doing something that's very complicated. There are a lot of moving parts in New York City real estate. It's very complicated. It's a nuanced marketplace. Your team should consist of a really good real estate agent or team of real estate agents. You have your real estate attorney, not just another attorney who happens to be dabbling in real estate, a local real estate attorney, not somebody who is, not somebody who is, practicing doing real estate out in White Plains. No offense to those people, but they're not going to understand the pacing of the local marketplace.
Pacing is important. We keep saying it's a complicated process, and I know we're not showing you it's a complicated process. You're not going to know it until you live it. Some deals and some properties go very smoothly. Sometimes there's a lot of due diligence that goes above and beyond a typical transaction. Your team consists of you, whoever you're buying the property with, whether you're getting money as a gift. And by the way, getting gifts from parents or friends or relatives is so okay. Everybody does it. Nobody talks about it. There's no shame in that. And if you can do that now, I would do it because, okay. And you're a real estate attorney and
You're a mortgage banker.
Banker, not broker.
Or broker.
A broker finds different.
A mortgage banker works for a specific bank. Most mortgage bankers most of the people that you'd be talking to are mortgage bankers. They represent a specific bank. They're selling that bank's products. A mortgage broker sources many different banks. There's nothing wrong with either one of them. We have contacts in both realms. It's really about choosing the right tool for the job, and we can certainly help you with that. But your team, again, you're assembling a team to help you get a job done. Your real estate agent, your attorney, and your mortgage person. And those are the three most important parts of your team to start your search. And you should really not get too far along in the search without having all of those people lined up and talking to each other.
And assembling that team helps you prepare. That team's going to educate you. That team's going to collaborate with you. And that team's going to communicate with you. We're going to be the spearheads or the account managers, if you will. And we're going to advocate for you. We're going to be the big mama bear. Now, this is a lot. It's a lot. It's like, that's why sometimes I call myself the real estate doula. It's scary. And it's complicated. We keep saying it's complicated. If you have specific questions, we're going to answer them at the end. If you want a private session, we are so happy to do that. It's really important that you go in knowing your facts and knowing what's available to you in terms of vendors, lawyers, mortgage bankers, and agents also. If you are buying a property, you don't necessarily have to go with the agent that swoops you up or somebody you contact at Zillow. You're going to be dealing a lot with this person, and same if you're selling the house. It's about a personal relationship. It's not just about numbers and data and pricing. It's somebody who's going to be like watching your kids while you're inside the open house. It's going to be somebody you're having a cup of coffee with and your feet are hurting and you've seen 7 properties and you're about to cry because you can't find the one that you want. So think of it as a psychological process as well. I know we didn't talk about that, and I'm probably totally throwing you off guard with that. Okay. That's us. That's our contact information. That's my dog. And questions?
We don't have any questions yet, but I'm hoping that people will put their questions in. I think one of the questions that we had that people had asked us, and please put your questions into the Q&A if you have questions for Alexandra and Tyson. One of the questions was about money that you have to put down. And I don't know, I lost you for a second there, and I don't know if you spoke about this already, but it was something that a lot of people had asked about, just about what is, you know, a down payment in different categories or different, you know, scenarios. And I wonder if you could speak to that.
Sure. Different property types. You have 3 major property types in New York City. You have co-ops, condominiums, and houses. For condos and houses, there's typically no minimum down payment. However, I mean, there are exceptions to that, but however, in many cases, the seller will have a minimum down payment that they're looking for. Typically 20% is the minimum that most sellers want to entertain. Or I should say, to say it a different way, most sellers don't want their deal to be contingent upon more than 80% financing. And there are a number of reasons for that we can really get in the weeds with. Most co-ops nowadays require a minimum of 20% down. And, you know, to take it a little bit farther, one of the things that we do, we talk about preparation. One of the things that we do at the outset of a search is we sit down, we look at what the dollar amount is that you have available to you as a down payment. We do a very simple purchase cost analysis that will help us determine what your buying power is from property to property. Your buying power for a co-op, you might have $100,000 to put down. Your buying power for the co-op may be totally different than your buying power with a comparable condo. And we figured that out at the outset so that we can streamline the process, so that we can put our energy where it makes sense. So you don't go to a property and fall in love with something you can't have. And just to manage expectations.
One thing is being able to buy the co-op or condo, and one thing is being able to stay in the co-op condo. Like kind of like I tell my kids when applying to school, one thing is getting into the school, you have to be able to stay in the school. And so you do have to put money as a down payment, but you also have to have money left over to show them that you can afford to live there should you become unemployed or should you need to. Look, we have 2 more questions.
Let's see one more thing.
I'm going to read the questions aloud to you. So,
okay.
First
So
one.
I don't have to click?
Yeah, you're good. Huh? How long does it typically take to get to closing, and what are the reasons it would take longer or shorter?
We typically, if it's a financed deal, if you're paying cash on a condo or a house, it could be next week. But typically on a condo, we say 45 to 60 days. On a co-op, we say closer to 90 days. Really, right now, the banks are moving very, very slowly. We're seeing I would say tack a month on to any expectation. And the reason,
The reason is underwriting, the U word. You're going to hear this word a lot. What does it mean? To me, it means a little old lady with corner glasses and a chain and a bun, and she's looking at every single piece of paper, cross-referencing every last bit of finance and requesting documents. And if one I isn't dotted, she's going to ask you for 7 more documents. My closing, I made an offer on August 17th. We closed on November 4th. And that was really abnormally long, and that's because underwriting kept asking us for documents. They just wanted to be sure, to be sure, to be sure.
well, right now, a lot of people's financial situations have changed. A lot of people have lost their jobs, or they're being furloughed, or, and so the banks are being extra cautious along the way to closing to make sure that nothing has changed in the last 2 weeks that would disqualify a buyer. And so it's just making the process take a lot longer. And just practically speaking, we're hearing that a lot of banks, a lot of people are working from home, they're understaffed, things are just taking a long time. So really, if you're buying, 70% of the apartment inventory in Brownstone, Brooklyn is co-ops. If you're buying a co-op, plan on, we could say 90 days, but just to be safe, plan on longer than that. And if you're really like in a time crunch, you should be talking to your agent about what's realistic and what's not.
And it's important to know the seller's intention. Sometimes it's not entirely a negative reason or the bank's fault. The seller might be like, look, I don't want to close until January 1st because that's when I can move into my new place. So you have to be very clear with the seller's agent as to their closing timeline. That's why an offer might be more attractive to the seller if you're flexible with your closing timeline. Carla, next question.
Great. If this attendee just received a formal underwritten approval for property in New York, but they're also considering property in Pennsylvania, do they need another approval and a mortgage lender from Pennsylvania?
No, most mortgage lenders can lend anywhere in the United States, but you should ask the mortgage lender. I mean, everybody's different. You have some mortgage lenders that are more localized, but most of them can lend anywhere. I'd say if you have a pre-approval from a mortgage lender here in New York City, you're probably going to be fine anywhere in the United States. But the reverse is not necessarily true. If you have a pre-approval from a mortgage lender out in St. Louis, they might not understand. I know, sorry.
This is on purpose.
Yep. They might not understand the nuances of our marketplace. New York is a unique market, and sometimes someone from another state might not understand the co-ops, and that might derail the entire process.
It's so much fun going to national conferences, and we're from New York, and they're fascinated by our process. It's unlike any other place in the world. It really is. Next question.
You guys mentioned taking gifts from family for a down payment. Are there additional tax ramifications related to those funds? And do the funds affect the bank's assessment of your reliability?
We are not tax accountants, so you should really defer to your tax person for that type of question. I mean, certainly in some cases, we know that the gifter can be taxed. The gifter is usually allowed to give X amount per year per child, I believe, but I don't really know what that number is.
Can I just say something really crude and general that you're probably going to get mad at me for saying? The bank doesn't care where you get your money from. They don't care. The co-op board is going to care where you get your money from. And you're going to have to show the co-op board that it's a gift, and the person giving you the gift has to certify it. If it's a gift, they have to say it's a gift. Now, recently I did have a sale where somebody got a loan from a parent, or a gift, rather. And in this case, and it was a townhouse, in this case, the lender, the bank did care. So I shouldn't say a broad general statement. But sometimes you will have to get a letter from the gifter saying that it is indeed a gift, and sometimes it might need to be notarized. But it doesn't affect the amount necessarily.
I think the key thing with a gift is this: if you know that you're getting a family gift or a loan internally that's going to help with your down payment, you need to get out way in front of it. You need to talk to your agent at the outset of your search and say, this is what I'm doing. This is where the money is now. because in many cases, if you're buying in a co-op, you can't put that money in the account 2 weeks before. They want to see that it sits in the account and marinates for a few months in many cases. So you really need to talk to your agent and strategize about where that money should live leading up to, like during your search, leading up to your offer being made, because it really could make or break the situation. And really talk to your mortgage banker about it. I mean, they see everything. They've seen it all. And they're going to find out in the end. So talk to them at the outset and say, I'm getting this money. What should I do? They'll give you advice. They'll say, hey, maybe you want to put it in, move it into this account for now. Maybe you want to deposit with our bank for now. Maybe it's fine where it is. And also the other thing is, if the gift is coming from some kind of an investment portfolio, or, you know, somewhere where the money is not readily, where it's not liquid or readily, you know, gettable. Was that a word? I mean, okay.
Accessible.
Accessible, exactly. Make those plans early, because if you have to go and put 10% into attorney's escrow account at contract signing, and then you have to stop and tell the attorney, oh wait, it's going to take me 2 weeks to get it out of this stock portfolio, then that's going to be a big problem for your deal. So again, communication, keep the lines of communication open, talk to your agent, talk to your banker.
And say thank you to your gifter and have a special dinner for them, and make sure that they have a bed in your home for the rest of their lives.
Okay, so this is, interestingly, the same person who asked the question about the pre-approval is elaborating a little bit and wondering if there's a downside to having two banks work on your pre-approval. She, you know, shopped around for the best mortgage, and she was looking for to have those notes to go to the tours with, and now she has two banks.
I don't think there's really a downside, other than, you know, you should really ask your banker, but they are going to hit your credit. And I don't know how much of an impact, you know, most bankers will tell you that it's a soft hit on your credit, but I think if you do it too many times, it could probably become a problem. I just really don't know that you know, to what,
How far in the process?
But we certainly have had many buyers who get multiple. I think for your search, you don't really need to get more than one pre-approval. Just get a pre-approval from a reputable banker. That gets you in the door. That lets you make an offer on a property. And then, you know, if you, because the rates are changing constantly, banks' guidelines are changing constantly, and there's no reason to line up multiple banks while you're searching. But once you have an offer accepted, and you know what the price is going to be, and you know what the general terms of the deal are going to be, maybe then you want to shop around a little bit and see if there's a better situation for you. Nothing wrong with talking to lots and lots of banks. You should shop around, but there's no need to have multiple pre-approvals during your search.
So you mentioned about sellers preparing their houses for sale. And from that seller's perspective, what do you think the benefit is of doing upgrades like kitchen cabinets, appliances, bathroom upgrades versus selling it as is?
Well, how much money do you want to make?
You can't always quantify those types of cosmetic renovations, but it goes towards saleability. Buyers don't want to do a lot of work right now. A lot of buyers, new buyers, first-time buyers may have a great job. They may be able to get a great mortgage, but they don't have the time or the wherewithal to do a renovation. Bathroom and kitchen renovations are expensive. They're a pain in the butt.
It can be intimidating to a first-time buyer.
Right. So you make that easy for them if it's within your means, if it's possible, if it's not too much of a headache, if it's not going to impact your launch date that you really need to be on the market by a certain date. You know, obviously you don't want to derail the whole thing by launching it into a renovation, but in many cases, if you can do some simple things to make it so that a buyer can move right in
and make them feel good about spending the amount of money that they're spending on. If they're about to spend $1.2 million on a co-op and the light switches are dirty and gross, they're not going to feel so good about spending $1.2 million. There are simple, quick fixes that will upgrade a home that are inexpensive. A fresh coat of paint. Don't even get me started on the subject. A fresh coat of paint, please. A deep clean. You might be the cleanest person in the world, but trust me, you're not. You might be Joan Crawford, but you're not. Get a deep clean, get a paint job, declutter. Put things in boxes. If you can live 3 weeks without them.
If I could just talk about my business partner for a second. he will be, when we go and look at talk to sellers about selling their home, she is not afraid to tell sellers what they need to hear.
I make people cry.
You have made people cry, and that's not always good, but you know, we're pretty brutal. We're pretty frank about what you should do to improve your home.
Or if you go with a Compass agent, borrow the money through Compass Concierge.
Sure.
It's a low interest, it's a no interest loan. You pay it back at closing. You can borrow up to $15,000 if your property is under $3 million. And I mean, I have a client who's using it right now. I don't know if she's in Arizona, but she was Park Slope mom. And it's great.
This is a game changer.
She's buying stuff on Wayfair to stage her house.
So
and she
many
can
times
keep it.
we have somebody selling a home and they just don't have the disposable income to do any renovations. Compass will basically just lend you the money with no interest. You pay it back at closing. You make the improvements. That you can have a project manager that will take care of the whole thing for you. They basically give you a debit card. You can go out and hire painters. You can hire cleaners. You can hire stagers. And staging is very important. We can talk about that. But we didn't intend to plug Compass Concierge, but we're using it a lot, and it's
really important though to have the home presentable and nice and clean, especially in this COVID era. You want people to feel good walking into your house. That being said, when we show houses, we're giving people gloves or booties, and we're wiping things down germ-wise automatically. But it's important that you present as if you don't have a virus. Next question.
Does anyone buy a home sight unseen these days in Brooklyn or elsewhere?
We're seeing it for sure, and
It's fun.
it's stressful for us as agents because you know, they're counting on us to. I mean, we do video tours, and right now actually 3D, they call it Matterport. 3D tours have become the standard, and this is a thing where you can basically walk around an apartment on your computer screen. So, but yeah, I mean, people are buying sight unseen. We're seeing, I mean, I did 2 last year, and we have some people looking right now. Yeah.
So it happens. Okay.
You know, sometimes sellers get a little nervous about that because they feel like maybe their deal is not going to be as secure, because when the buyer finally comes to town to see the property and they freak out because it isn't how they imagined it.
But this is why you have a good real estate attorney. This will be in the contract.
Yes.
Sight unseen indemnification.
Wow. I didn't even know that existed. Wow. This person saying they've heard about a lot of people losing deals because they were outbid. Besides writing a nice letter, what are some ways I can keep from losing my dream house?
Well, you can work with an agent who knows how to present a professional offer, who knows how to communicate with the seller side and try to get a sense of where this is headed. Where is the negotiation headed? Where is the process headed? You know, you can never control what another buyer is going to do. You might make the best offer that's within your means and still get outbid. And what are you going to do? You can't control that, but there's a strategy to this. And, you know, working with an agent who understands how to win a bidding war, who understands how to make an offer competitive from the beginning, to make your offer stand out, is absolutely crucial.
I mean, even we have lost bidding wars recently. Well, I'm being authentic.
Yeah,
I'm truth telling. And we had a collegial conversation with the other agent whom we adore. And you'll never find out, by the way, everybody always asks this, what was the higher bid? What was the higher bid? You're not going to find out until closing. We're not allowed to disclose that unless the seller tells us we're allowed to, and they never do. So a collegial conversation with the seller's agent, she'll say, you guys are way, way out of line. We had an outlier come in and just forget about it. There could be a number of reasons you're being outbid, and we could definitely find out why, but we'll never find out how much by until then.
Well, I would just say, when we know that the bidding is going to be competitive and you really want a property, one of the things that I usually tell buyers is, look, you know, this is not just a business transaction. Going back to the start of all this whole webinar, this is not a business transaction. You're buying a property where you're going to feel safe, where you're going to spend your time, where your kids are going to sleep, or where you're going to, you know, build memories. And so, you know, there is also value in securing this property. We're in a marketplace where values escalate every single year. Even I mean, maybe they plateau out a little bit. Perhaps this year is one of those years. But if you look at the long game, property values in Brownstone and Brooklyn the trajectory is consistently up. And so even if you pay a little bit more than what you perceive as being market value, whatever that even means anymore, you know, reach out and take what you want. Don't be afraid to be a little bit aggressive with your offer, because in a few years, you're not going to care that you paid $20,000 more than what you thought you wanted to. And also, with interest rates being 3% or 2.75% on a 10-year, I mean, the difference on your mortgage for a small increase in your offer is really, it's not nothing, but it's not hugely significant.
And
Sorry for the traffic.
We're in Greenwood Heights. By the way, could you please talk a little bit about negotiating against yourself? I heard this all the time when I was buying. I had no idea what that meant. I was just like, just take the money, tell me what you want, and I'll give it to you. And now people are like, I don't want to negotiate against myself.
You mean on the south side? I'm not sure.
Yeah, or as the buyer, like if I'm on the buyer and they don't respond, and it's a negotiation. Making offers a negotiation.
Well, one of the things that we're seeing right now is we have a buyer who made an offer on a property. It's a condo in Greenwood Heights, and the offer was very, very low. And the seller said, we're not even going to respond to that offer. It's $100,000 under asking. It's way out of line. We wouldn't consider it. We're not responding. And we went back to the buyer and said, you know, this is what the seller said. They're not going to respond. They're basically, you know, if you want to come back to the table with something a little more serious, maybe we can have a productive conversation. And the buyer said, well, I'm not going to negotiate against myself. Yeah. You know, this idea, I mean, in one sense, he's right, but at the same time, again, you have to come to the table with a competitive offer to start off the negotiation on the right foot. You really, if you want to have a negotiation, is just a conversation. It's a dialogue. If you want to have a productive dialogue, you have to be realistic. You have to come to the table with something that's going to at least pique the seller's interest. And you know, there's really no value in coming in with an offer that is so low that you know the seller will never accept. You've basically set the tone for an unproductive negotiation.
And you know it's the right price when? You know it's a successful negotiation when?
Where you know it's when nobody's happy?
I had $1.
What does that mean?
Well, it's a compromise.
Everybody gives something up to get something else that they want. So nobody's 1,000% happy.
Gotcha. Okay, we're on our last question, unless anybody gets in a last minute. Got it. The last one's a good one though. But if anyone has any last second questions, we have a few more minutes to take some questions.
And you can always reach us after that.
We can always just keep talking.
Yeah, get all the questions out. Well, this is great. What would you say are the 3 most important questions to ask when you're looking for a new home? Like, is this in a flood zone? Are the appliances new? Like, what are, and they don't have to be 3, but what are the best questions?
Do not ask, why are they selling? Please don't ask that.
Can.
You can. Oh yeah, you can. We're not allowed to tell you. If they give us permission.
What's the point? I mean, no one's going to tell you we're selling because we hate the building. We're selling because, you know.
You can't ask if it's a safe neighborhood. Okay, let me tell you what you can ask, what you should ask.
One of the things that you should ask, this is a big thing here in Brownstone, Brooklyn, where we have so many self-managed co-ops and condos, lots of them. These are, you know, 3 or 4 unit buildings where they don't generate enough maintenance or common charge revenue to hire a professional management company. So they just manage themselves. That's all fine and good, except they're not professional managers and they don't know what they're supposed to know. So it can be fine or it could be an absolute disaster. So one of the big things to do is if you're looking at this type of property, ask before you get involved with the negotiation, do some preliminary due diligence, or have your agent do it, better yet, about the co-op or the condo's financials. What are they spending money on? How are they managing their money? You know, who's in charge of managing the money? Well, we saw a building recently where they have this massive, it's a 4-unit building. They have a large amount of income coming in, but they don't have a lot of money in the bank, and you have to say, where is that money going? What's going on there? So maybe there's a good answer for it, but you know, you're basically joining a community and you're investing in. Yeah, sorry.
Because you can keep talking about that forever about co-ops. Ask to see the basements, whether it's a co-op, condo, or townhouse. Always ask to see the mechanicals. That will tell you how the building is kept, what condition it's kept in. If they don't have access to it, make sure you make an appointment to see it before you go make an offer. Ask about the big ticket items, the roof. Also, it makes you sound really smart. How old is the roof? And then there are different things you can do to a roof, like resurface it, resilver it, redo it. Is there any warranty left on the roof? The roof is a big ticket item. Windows are a big ticket item. Heat and hot water are big ticket items. Air conditioning. Everybody's coming in now to see. We're in the fall. We don't think about air conditioning. And you're going to say, what is the cooling here? It's through the windows. It's going to be these beautiful bay windows. And all of a sudden you have these ugly Home Depot or PC Richards windows in there. No, can you? I'm talking too fast because I'm getting excited. I'm sorry. Ask if you can put split levels in and where the compressors can go. That's an important question.
One of the big ones that I would ask right now.
I feel strongly.
One of the big ones that I would ask right now is if you're looking at condos or houses, have your agent find out if the seller has an existing mortgage, because you may be able to do a purchase SEMA. This is
CEMA, purchase SEMA.
This is this is something that's unique to New York City. I'm not sure if there are any other cities in the States that have it, but definitely a New York City thing. This is essentially a mortgage assignment. When you buy a property in New York City and you're financing the purchase, you're going to pay New York City and state mortgage recording fees. These can be significant fees. If you have the seller's existing mortgage assigned to you, it eliminates those fees, or a good portion of them. So I'm not going to get too deep into that. We can talk about it later, but it's something that we don't see agents asking for the most part, except for the top players in our business. Any real estate attorney should automatically try to do it on a condo or a house. Most of them don't.
That's a great question to ask when you're interviewing real estate attorneys. How often do you do purchase SEMAs? It stands for consolidation, extension, modification, agreement, assignment. Yeah.
But
agreement.
It's a big deal. I mean, we have
Agreement.
someone doing one right now, and they're saving $25,000 out of pocket costs. I mean, that's
your fancy wallpaper.
Yeah.
That your husband won't let you buy that has tigers on it.
This is the kind of advanced due diligence that you know, in this market we should all be doing, and a lot of people don't. But you know, again, we believe in elevating the business, and the people that we do business with, the other top agents in our marketplace, you know, this is the kind of stuff that we're talking about.
I like the tiger wallpaper. We have got a last minute question. It's a very interesting one because I've never heard of this before, but can you explain rent to buy?
Yeah, we can. We tell our sellers not to do it. We tell our buyers to try to do it.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I've never personally done it. Have you?
Yeah, a couple times. There's so many pitfalls with that, but I mean, essentially, a buyer could, you know, rent a property and make an agreement with the seller that they rent it for X amount of time, and then if they choose to buy it at the end of that term, they can deduct the amount of money they paid in rent from the purchase price. I mean, there are all types of ways to structure it. The problem.
This is important because the words we use are important. This is different from a rent back. A rent back is when you buy a house or a property and the former seller is now paying you rent to live there longer. Gets confusing sometimes and jumbled up. But rent to buy is something else.
Rent to buy, when you're basically renting an apartment before actually buying it, or a house. The reason that I don't like it, it makes me nervous. It makes a lot of real estate attorneys nervous, because essentially you're agreeing to buy a property, but then you get a chance to kind of test drive it and find out all the things that are wrong with it, or all the things you don't like about it before you close. And then by the time that it comes time to close, you don't want to do it. And if I was a seller, I would never, ever entertain this. I'm sure there are situations where it makes sense, but it's just.
Is it like living with somebody before you get married?
I have no idea.
And then you don't want to marry them? That's why you're not supposed to move in with people. That's what my mom always said. What else, Carla?
That is all the questions. So I have to say to you guys, thank you so much. That was amazing and wonderful and honest and super entertaining. And I just love hearing you talk.
Good, because we love talking and we love educating.
And you're you're just full of details and kind of explaining details in such a realistic way. I mean, I just feel like I understand a little bit more now. Oh,
Well, it's hard to pack all this stuff into just a short webinar. So do reach out. I mean, we're going a mile a minute up here, but.
You can find us typically on a Sunday evening after open houses at Della on Prospect Park West. You can find us volunteering at Shaw and Casey or at Greenwood Cemetery, or helping Susan make some kind of craft for Park Slope parents.
Thank you guys so much for being such great community partners and for being so supportive of Park Slope parents.
Thank you for hosting these and being such a great moderator.
Thank you. And I hope you have a wonderful night. And I hope everyone has a good sell or buy. Good night, everyone.
It should be a wonderful experience. Bye.